Good evening. I now call the order the June 5th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. We acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of Chumash, Tongva, Fernando, Tatwam, and the First Nation on which we are learning, educating, and living. Ms. Shanna Warren from Boys and Girls Club, could you lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance, please? Hi.
If you'll join me in saluting our flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Warren, and for everything you do. All right. Ms. Ramirez-Adams, please take the roll call at this time.
Member Weisberg,
Present.
Member Cano,
Present.
Clerk Tabbitt, Vice President Ponser-Kamkar,
Present.
President Agakanian.
Present. We have quorum at this point. Next item is item 5, reporting on closed session. There was no action on 3A. On action 3B, I'm going to be reading on action 3B. So on September 5th, 2024, the district approved a contract with a vendor named Specialized Support Services with a maximum amount of $90,000. The contract was proprietarily signed by Brianne M. Wist, the adult daughter of Trustee Tabbitt. At that meeting, Trustee Tabbitt did not disclose her daughter's proposed interest in the contract and did not recuse herself from the vote. Moreover, the other members of the board were not informed of Ms. White's involvement in the contracts. Ultimately, the district paid $93,000 under the contract from December 2024 to May 2025. The contract was on board's June 5th, 2025 agenda for renewal. On Friday, May 30th, district staff was made aware of serious concerns regarding the circumstances surrounding the contract. In particular, staff learned that Trustee Tabbitt had created a limited liability company named Specialized Support Services on early December 2024. Upon receipt of these concerns and information, district staff immediately began an investigation. On June 4, 2025, district staff referred the matter to law enforcement and provided relevant documentation. The matter is now an active law enforcement investigation, and the district is fully cooperating with law enforcement. Tonight in closed session, there was a motion made on this item. The motion was made by Board Vice President Ponser-Kamkar and was seconded by Board Member Cano, and it was unanimously passed. With Tabbitt's absent, that's a 4 vote, to accept the resignation of Superintendent John Promo, effective immediately. The board also voted on, and I would read the motion. The motion was made by Vice President Ponser-Kamkar and was seconded by Dr. Board Member Emily Weisberg, and was also voted on 4-0 unanimously to have Dr. Messia as the acting superintendent until further notice. We are committed to transparency and accountability. While all details of the ongoing investigation cannot be disclosed at this time, we believe it is important for the public to have information to understand this situation. As a result, the contract and the related public records will be available for inspection through a link on the district's website. The community will also be kept informed for further developments and information as appropriate in accordance with the law as the matter progresses. In addition, the board has authorized an independent third-party investigation, a thorough and impartial view of what was conducted. Appropriate actions, whatever disciplinary or otherwise, will be taken as a result of the district's internal investigation, independent investigation, and other relevant information gained from law enforcement. We know this news is really sudden and for many shocking and saddening. We did not come to this decision lightly and share many of your feelings. We also know that you will have many questions about this issue and about the future leadership of the district. We will provide the information that we can, starting with making public records regarding the contract available for inspection. But as this is ongoing investigation by both the district and the law enforcement, there will be questions we cannot answer and information we cannot provide at this time. But we are committed to being as transparent as the law and the investigation process allow and is possible and appropriate. As for the direction of the district leadership, the board will be having many discussions about that and listening to your feedback, concerns, and perspectives. In the meantime, our mission, goals, and priorities as a district community remain unchanged. And the board is, again, confident that Dr. Messia and his ability and commitment to lead and keep us moving forward. As this is an active criminal investigation, if you believe that you have information that may be relevant, please contact Detective John Voorhis, did I say that right? Thank you, at Burbank PD directly. His email address is V as Victor, OOR, H as Henry, IS, at burbankca.gov. And phone contact is 818-238-3278. Also, all media inquiries can be also directed to media, MEDIA, at burbankusd.org. We ask that staff report to Dr. Sarah Rachenko and any personal matters to aid in the internal investigation. There was also no action item 3C. Now we're going to number 6, adjustment to agenda. Any requests or adjustments?
Dr.
Yeah.
Agakanian.
Vice President Kamkar.
I'd like to request that we remove item 14X based on the report you just received.
I would also recommend, in light of the news just shared, that we move some of these items to a future agenda, and so I'm going to recommend that we remove 8A, 11B, C as in cat, 13, C as in cat, 14, H, I, J, M as in Mary, T as in Tom. Again, my recommendation and request would be that we move these to a later meeting in June, items 8A, 11B, C, 13, C, 14, H, I, J, X, M, and T.
My colleagues okay with that? Any questions? All right. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Campbell. Now we're going, since 8A was pulled, so it's 7 items for future agendas. Yes, Vice President Kamkar.
Dr. Agakanian, thank you. I have 2. So the first is I would request that we agendize an additional regular meeting given the number of items that were just pulled. I'm proposing Wednesday, June 18th with a standard 5 p.m. close and 6 p.m. open session.
My colleagues, is that okay with you? Okay.
So that
Thank
we
you.
are able to make sure that we get to all the business that we need to get to in the month of June. I would also like to call for a special meeting for a censure resolution that I have drafted for Board Member Tabbitt. I would like that special meeting to be as soon as reasonably possible, with as many board members there as can possibly be there. I know summer vacations are coming up.
Yes, Dr. Weisberg.
I know we've been talking about this for a while, about creating a updated conflict of interest policy for the board. Moving forward, we need to agendize, I'd like this to happen before the summer is out, a conflict of interest district policy, including internal protocols for evaluating potential vendor conflicts, and would also like a report back on what protocols you all deem effective and will be put into place moving forward.
that fine with everyone?
I thought I had
Well-
something else, but I don't know what it is.
Well, while we're on the future agendas, I also want us, while we're looking at the conflict of interest, also take a second look at our bylaws as well. There are certain things in there that, we might want to take a second look at, minor things.
Do you
Is that more like a study session of our?
Yeah, like the whole question we had on the situation of clerk and all this other.
We may need to narrow it because
Yeah.
there's 82 trillion of them. So I
Yes.
wonder if we could just,
Here's what I would suggest, because I think, I would propose a session talking about bylaws. I would love for you to, because I'm always happy to talk about bylaws.
Yeah.
If you would want to get more specific and direct staff on which bylaws you want to focus on, I think that would be appropriate. I don't know that we need to decide that right at
Well,
this
I wanted to
particular
make sure
moment.
all of my colleagues are okay with that. I can bring forward some additions and see what you think, and then maybe bring it back to the board.
Absolutely, please.
All right.
And real quick, that's Dr. Knapkin just made a good reference. We'll compare it to CSBA. That way, we're modeled after that.
I appreciate that. Okay. Anything else? All right. Now, 8, we don't have, item 8A was pulled. We're going to 9, reports from the board and staff. Do we have any representatives from our unions tonight?
We do not.
All right. So 9A, 9B, reports from our acting superintendent, Dr. Massey.
Dr. Akani, may I also share some comments this evening?
Yes, please,
Is it okay if I go first?
please.
I think like many people who have been aware of this, there have been many tears shed, and so I'm going to try my hardest to get through this without doing that tonight. Good evening, board members, colleagues, and community. This evening, I acknowledge the weight of this moment. We find ourselves at a crossroads, navigating what is sure to be a difficult and painful chapter in our district's history. As news reverberates in our community this evening and in the coming days, I realize the trust that binds us as a community will be shaken. And I recognize the disappointment, frustration, and concern that many of you will feel. I realize that some in this community are still processing the sudden departure of our last superintendent almost exactly 2 years ago to this day. I'd like to personally say that Dr. Paramo is a man who cares deeply for people. Although I've only served as an assistant superintendent in Burbank for the past 3 years, I witnessed countless times and I personally experienced the genuine care and compassion that this man has for students, for teachers, for classified staff, for administrators, parents, community stakeholders, for Burbank. For all of us who have come together for the common good of serving every student, regardless of their socioeconomic status, their ethnicity, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, immigration status, or any other arbitrary dividing line that society places on people, and regardless of any learning differences or medical challenges a student may be living with. I heard John say often that students come to us who they are, and we don't decide any of that. But when they come to us, we all have the responsibility of ensuring that they feel safe, that they feel cared for, that they have champions and the adults on campus, that they see themselves in the curriculum, and that they are given the opportunity to thrive. I know that Dr. Paramo believes this with every ounce of his being, and so do every one of us. Let me be clear. This is a challenging moment, but it is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to reaffirm who we are and what we stand for. An opportunity to strengthen our commitment to integrity, transparency, and above all, our students. Because despite any obstacles, our mission remains unchanged. To ensure that every child in this district receives the education they deserve, one that empowers them, uplifts them, and prepares them for a bright future. We cannot undo the past, but we can shape the future. And we will do that together. This district is more than just policies in a building. It is a vibrant community made up of passionate educators, dedicated staff, committed families, and bright, ambitious students. It is because of you that I am confident that we will emerge stronger. Our promise to you is simple. We will lead with honesty. We will listen. We will work tirelessly to restore trust and build a system that reflects the values we all share. This work requires all of us to come together to hold each other accountable and to move forward with unity and purpose. These comments are only my own, but I am confident I speak for the rest of our leadership team when I say that Dr. Macias has our unwavering confidence and support. He has dedicated decades of his professional life to Burbank. He knows better than anyone else in senior leadership this district what makes Burbank so special. He knows what it is to be a teacher in this district, an assistant principal, a director, an assistant superintendent, and in the most Burbank way possible, to have a spouse as a coworker. And the good news is that for the past year and a half, he has served in 2 roles as interim assistant superintendent and director of secondary education at the same time, so he has experience serving in 2 roles to do what it takes to serve this community. I will close with emphasizing this. Education is the foundation. Education is the foundation of opportunity. It is the great equalizer. It transforms lives. It changes family trees. And no matter what the challenges that come our way, we will not lose sight of that. We will focus on our students. We will invest in their success. We will ensure that every classroom is a place of growth and opportunity. This moment is difficult, but let it also be defining. Let it be the start of a new chapter, one written not in shadows, but in the light of integrity, resilience, and hope. Thank you. Let's move forward together.
Thank you, Mr. Cantwell. Dr. Macias.
Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Cantwell. Thank you. Before I read something I came up with, a little statement, I do want to echo, and currently at the moment don't have the right words to convey my feelings about John Paramo, someone that I've known for 25 years. And he, as Mr. Cantwell stated, is a good man. Did do a lot of amazing things in Burbank Unified. And I will always reflect upon the good times and amazing mentorship he gave along the way. I'm deeply honored, humbled to have the name acting superintendent of Burbank Unified School District. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Board of Education for entrusting me with this responsibility. It is a privilege to serve a district that I love so dearly. I recognize that this is a time of pain for our district. There are wounds that need healing, relationships that need mending, and trust that must be rebuilt. I do not take this lightly. I want you all to know that I see the challenges before us, and I also see the incredible potential within our community. I love Burbank Unified. I was in a position when I left once before and was blessed with the opportunity to return. That return was not just a homecoming. For me, it was a calling. I believe in this district. I believe in our students, our teachers, our support staff, our district, our site administrators, district leadership, our board, our greater Burbank community. I believe we can do better. I know we can do better, and I know we deserve better. As your acting superintendent, I vow to give you my best, and then after that, do more, because that is what is needed. Our focus moving forward will be healing. But healing cannot happen in isolation. It does require all of us, all our students, every faculty and support staff member, every family member, every community member. We need to come together and commit to the work of restoration. This will indeed mean listening deeply, reflecting, speaking honestly, and acting with compassion. It will mean repairing relationships within our district and our broader community. It will mean ensuring that every voice is heard and every person feels valued and respected. To each and every one of you, I see you, I hear you, and I appreciate you, and ultimately, I support you. To our board, thank you for the opportunity to serve. To our community, together we will move forward with courage, care, and a shared commitment to a better Burbank Unified. Thank you.
Dr. Weisberg.
I remembered the thing I wanted to say for future agenda items. While May is not technically Pride Month, I think we are missing an opportunity to celebrate our LGBTQIA plus students because we don't fly our flags until June when all of our kiddos are home. So I'm wondering if we can work together to fly them earlier in either May or mid-May or something, just so our students and families get a chance to, if people haven't driven around to all of our campuses, it's awesome. It's beautiful. So I'm just hoping that we can do it a little earlier if the board is open to it in order to allow our students to enjoy the flying of the flags.
Can I suggest a small amendment?
Please.
I don't know if it's small or not. What I would love to do is get essentially in front of the board just the calendar of all of the heritage and celebration months that we do over the course of the year, just so that we're able to sit down at one time and map out all of those things. I know that we almost missed one this year, and so it's important to me that we are able to see that at kind of one glance, and then we can have that conversation about, do we need to adjust when we're recognizing certain ones so that it makes sense for our calendar too.
I did want to follow up on Dr. Macias and Mr. Cantwell's comment, just to thank the team here, and also Dr. Kanabik and Dr. Oshenko and everyone, my colleagues. This has been a very difficult few days for all of us. Again, I always say we are a family here, and I'm lost at words, but at the same time, I do want to thank all of you. I know how difficult this is for all of you. But as Dr. Macias says, I'm going to look at the positive. This has made us stronger. And we're going to move forward because, we're here for our kids. So, with that said, we're going to next to 10 requests to address the board. You want to do the presentation of the books?
No, I think we want a virtual speaker. Oh, okay, good.
We had 4. Do we have 1 or 4 now?
One that's there.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. All right, so next we have requests to address the board, public communications. An individual or group representative present this evening may address the Board of Education on any agenda item or any subject within the jurisdiction of the school board by completing a white request card and turning it to Ms. Ramirez Adams. Sorry. Speakers are requested to state their name prior to speaking to the board. Not more than 5 minutes may be allowed to each speaker, except by unanimously consent of the Board of Education. The acting superintendent may refer to the matter to the proper department for review. The district is providing alternatives in person attendance for viewing and participating. So we have Ms. Ramirez Adams. We have one virtual speaker, I believe, right? Yes. Why don't we get that person?
Jessica Dolbear.
Jessica Dolbear. Thank you. You're on. Can you hear us?
Jessica, you appear to be muted. Do we want to do the speaker cards and come back to?
Are you muting her or she's muted herself? You can unmute her? Okay, we'll come back. Now we have two cards here. First card is Michael Paul. Yes, sir. Why don't you come up?
Hi, my name is Michael Paul, also known as Mr. Paul. I wasn't expecting such a powerful opening, and I hope what I say doesn't sound like peanuts, but I wish the board my best in what you just opened with. I am currently your TK through first music teacher at Bret Harte, Washington, and Emerson Elementary. I've been teaching for 4 years for your district. I'd like to speak from my heart, but since I have 5 minutes, I'm going to look down at some of my notes. Currently, I'm teaching TK through first, plus special needs, deaf and hard of hearing students. I have 18 classes. I'm teaching over 400 children right now. Like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years. My first year I started, it was the first year after COVID, and it was very difficult putting that together for everyone. I was replacing a wonderful teacher who had been at Bret Harte for years, and I was hired by the PTA and Mrs. Walter to replace her. They said these were heavy shoes to fill in. Would I be interested? I don't have enough time to talk about my history and why I'm a music teacher and why I love music teaching and how I ended up there. But in short, Johanna, who hired me, I think you know Johanna, the art teacher, she asked me to fill in, and we agreed I could do this if I did it in the auditorium and used a microphone, and the kids were, anyway, so it worked with COVID. I was lucky enough to be hired the next year, and I moved into the music room, which was great. And the first year, though, they asked me to do something new and something deep. And did I have any ideas? My first idea was I would do a chronological history of music from Neanderthal bone flutes through avant-garde, even for kindergartners. And I would tailor every program I did to the grade, make adjustments, which I did, and it was fantastic. That was in the large auditorium. I had a piano on stage. I primarily used the video screen and kept my distance from the kids so I didn't get sick. But the following year, like I said, I had the music building, the music room, which is fantastic. Your facilities are bar none. And so then I I had a meeting with some of the teachers, and they said, you know, that was great what you did, but maybe we could also just do something more fun. Maybe we could sing some songs. And they said that the kindergartners loved it. They keep talking about the Neanderthal flute, you know, but maybe we could still do something that's a little more fun. It's absolutely. So I came up with a completely new curriculum, threw that away, and I'm a composer, and you can look my name up, and I'm not going to get into that now. So I wrote all kinds of songs, and I came up with a specific curriculum for each grade. They assigned me TK for the first time. They said, would you be interested? Long story short, I started doing this because I had empty nest syndrome when my daughter went to college. I had some extra time in the afternoon. I'm a music teacher. That's when I primarily work. So I thought this will be good for me. When I took this assignment, I promised them day one that I would take this extremely seriously and I would be the best teacher they ever had. I promised them that. And I was. And the next, eventually, I was notified by Mrs. Vineyard at Washington. Actually, I was notified by Mrs. Walter, who said, I recommended you. And I was hired sight unseen at Washington. No interview. Just started. They handed me the keys. I went in day one. And it was absolutely wonderful. And I did basically the same lesson plans and curriculum. I then was asked to teach at Emerson, and that's how I finished this year, was teaching at all three of those. I have run I ran the winter program at Bret Harte completely by myself. I rehearsed all grades through 5th grade, and did all of the production, the music, the accompaniment, some live accompaniment. It was a great show. Wendy Thomas, who had done it for years and did a fantastic job, was retiring from it, so I took over that and did that. I just finished doing a end-of-year concert at Emerson that was fantastic. I have really become close to the school community. I live in Encino, and when they first told me that this was in Burbank, I said, there's no way I'm driving to Burbank at any time of the day. And they said, well, it wouldn't be at 8, because we need to get situated, and so it'd probably be around 9 or 10. I thought, well, okay, if it's not, right out at rush hour. And so I take side streets all day. When I go to Emerson, I take Burbank all the way from my house. When I go to Washington, I take Van Owen all the way through. And I figured out a way to get there. I have a Starbucks. There's a place where I can use the restroom because I drink coffee all morning when I get there. And anyways, I'm asking, I don't have any specific information except one principal told me they might be replacing my job. And that's why I'm here, because I really love what I do. And I would really like, even if I can just stay at these 3 schools, I know I make a huge difference in those kids' lives. I would please ask you to talk to any of the principals, any of the teachers, any of the parents, and any of the students. And I fully believe that they would back me up.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Thank you.
Is the virtual speaker back?
Yes. Hi, thank you. My name is Jessica Dolbear, she, her. I am a parent of an incoming kindergartner who will be attending Disney this fall for the bilingual program. And I'm here today because, as many of you I'm sure have seen in the news, LAUSD has had numerous incidents with ICE agents in the past several months. In February, they reported multiple incidents of ICE impersonators intimidating students. And more recently, in April, ICE agents attempted to enter 2 LAUSD elementary schools and were denied entry to the school grounds by administrative staff. And as a mother of a Spanish-speaking kid who's about to go off to school and be away from me for the first time all day, I am understandably feeling a little nervous, and I really want to feel assured that he is safe and know that when I go to pick him up, he will be there. And so I want to ask Burbank Unified, what will the school district's response be when that happens here? Does BUSD have a written policy for how to handle these situations? What sort of staff training will be planned so that campuses and administrative staff are prepared to respond? Like I said, I just want to make sure that my son and everyone else that goes to school in Burbank has a safe learning environment, and the kids and the parents don't worry about being intimidated or feeling unsafe on school grounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ober. Next, we have Paul McNibb.
Good evening, Board. I'm Paul McNiff, and I'm here with my colleagues. Yes, I see that. There we go. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Paul McNiff. I'm an English teacher at Burbank High School and an alum, and I'm here with my colleagues, Patrick McMenamin and Alicia Boot, who's the librarian at Burbank High, and our student representative on our committee, Alan Delanian. And we are here to just inform you that we're excited to continue the process of naming the library after Dave Thompson, who was a longtime history teacher there from 1985 to 2020. He did not get the send-off he deserved because of COVID, and he is the model teacher. We spoke a few months ago, and we're just excited to continue the process this year. He is the model teacher, and he was a mentor for us. And you ask anyone who had him, they will attest to him deserving this honor. And so we just are excited to continue fundraising and trying to get this dedicated to him this school year. And we're looking forward to continuing. So we'll keep you informed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. By the way, is there a website or people want to donate?
We need to get that going.
Oh, okay.
We'll
Thank
get on
you.
it. Okay.
Don't forget, millions of viewers are watching this.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, and then last card we have is Jason Lewis.
Good evening, Board. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. I decided to show up and express some extreme disappointment, and I mean, I'm glad the happy people came up before me, because as someone who's volunteered, I phone banked at the BTA last time before COVID, when we had a request among the voters to get money for the school district. I have supported the school district I handed awards out next door last year when I was representing the HSA for Huerta. I've done it over at the Elks Lodge when it was there, when I was the HSA at Huerta. I spent a lot of time really talking up this district. I think Burbank is the city it is, second from the studios and the airport and the Lockheed Brothers, and secondly, for people like myself and my wife who moved here as CSUN grads to send our kids here. I got an incoming freshman at Burroughs. I'm livid. I understand you guys are upset too, but this is 2 times. We have no idea. How do I go to business owners and defend asking for a parcel tax and other citizens with kids who don't have, people without kids in this district for money when keeps happening? And I understand we're going to have conflict of interest, but this is completely insane. And I can say this as someone who's been up here and asked for things that were ignored before. I don't expect anything to happen. But people are going to lose faith in this district. And by the way, this isn't even on your website right now. When I'm talking to my wife, she's like, what? I don't see anything. So your open and candid is failed immediately. So we just looked at the website. It's not there right now. So we for folks who want to know about this, it should have gone out in an email. You need to get out ahead of this, because people will not vote to spend more money. They will move. They will not come here when, the 2nd grade teacher, when I was on a field trip volunteering to go to the Getty, was explaining to me that she's going to take a job in the next door school district for 20 grand more. And I understand this is upsetting, but this could be a little bit more candor. There's barely anybody here for something that is so earth-shattering. Wow. So please, do a better job. And I understand this is difficult, but you asked for this position. When you step up and you need to respond to crisis like this is not the way to respond to a crisis. I know you disagree with me, but this is not how you respond to a crisis, because why should we stay? Why should we trust this district to get it right? Why should we trust when we trust you with our children? You guys have, we still have Burbank PD on campuses when our next door folks are using their jail for ICE. So how are we supposed to trust? Now, I know police officers. I work with the city because that's how more my trust comes from personally. But for folks who are just hearing things, not from the school district, through word of mouth, how are they supposed to trust that we are not participating the same way that Glendale is with their jail and their folks? Now, I know you're going to tell us that that's wrong, and we're going to do everything we can, but what happens when the police don't listen to you? Because they don't have to. Now, I trust the police. The person, my next neighbor who has a key to my house is a cop. One of my groomsmen at my wedding was a cop. I'm just explaining to you that other people that don't feel the same way about me are going to see this differently. They're going to see lack of candor. They're going to see yet another scandal. And they're going to see nobody getting out in front of this as a sign that the school district is closing ranks. There's nothing to see here. We'll be fine. Just trust us. And people will not trust. I'm here to tell you they will not trust. They will move. They will find, hey, they might even start, hey, maybe we should get charter schools because we can't trust the district. I think that's a terrible idea, but people will say, why not us? Because they don't trust the people that they entrust with their money. The people, they're asking for more money again. We need to get out ahead of this. We need to let the community understand why they should trust us, not just because we say so, because there's no one here. And this is bigger than what happened last time, in my opinion, because we have a missing seat that we didn't have last time this happened. Now, I'm not pointing fingers at you all. You were here trying to deal with this, but I'm showing you that it is wrong right now. We are not out ahead of this. If someone's just tuning in, they're just seeing everybody upset and they don't know why, because they don't have an email, they don't have any information. They're just asking, hey, does this YouTube click rewind enough to understand why people are crying? So please, please do better. I understand this is difficult, but we need to do better and not trust us, we will take care of you, please. I skipped dinner for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. That was the last comment. All right. Next, we're going to 10B, our acting superintendent's comment.
Thank you, Dr. Agakanian. So thank you to all our speakers. I'm really appreciative of you spending time here with us tonight and expressing your concerns and your opinions. To Ms. Dolbear, I want to start there. I want to make sure that you and the rest of the community, we are indeed on top of our protocols when it comes to ICE agents and immigration. Our principals have thoroughly been informed. They know our protocols. As a matter of fact, next week we do have all our principals coming to our Principals Institute. We will make sure that we review our policies and protocols. We absolutely agree with you. We want none of that in our campuses. All our kids, you have an expectation of us that they are safe. So we will repeat those things to our principals and the community as well. So we'll be on top of that. Mr. Paul, who is not here, but I want to make sure, thank you very much for sharing your concerns and your outreach in terms of music and curriculum and instruction and impact with our elementary students. That is something obviously that's very difficult to review and discuss. We do have human resources that you definitely can talk to and get rationale. So I want to make sure that you do know that, and you can contact Dr. Rodchenko if anything is needed there. Mr. McNiff and crew, thank you for being here. We'll make sure that I will do my best to convey the process about renaming the library for Mr. Dave Thompson, and I'll read a short bio that you provided. So thank you for being here and support. And Mr. Lewis, absolutely agree with you. Your frustration and anger is felt. We are all experiencing that. No one wants this for our district. My sentiments I shared earlier, I come from a place where I want to make sure that everyone understands. I really am not okay with this. Not one bit, not 1 ounce. So you do have a commitment, whether I'm acting or not, whatever label I'm, if I was an assistant principal, my drive, and I know everyone on this district leadership team, our board, we have a strong commitment to do better. And we acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. So we will calibrate appropriately. One thing I do want to point out, and I think maybe Mr. Cantwell wants to speak to it, there are certain guidelines and legalities that we have to abide by in terms of informing the community. Board action has to be taken, and that's why we're here tonight. It's not a matter of not doing our due diligence. We have been more than diligent behind this process. So, Mr. Campbell, if you want to explain a little bit more about our timeline.
Sure. So just to repeat some of the highlights from the comment that Dr. Arkanian made earlier, we first became aware of a concern 6 days ago. In the late afternoon at the start of a weekend, within 4 days, a complete internal investigation was completed, not just undertaken, but completed, in which what we believe to be necessary to understand the circumstances as best as is able to be done with the resources we have in the district, was given over to police. Police have opened and have an active investigation, and they have begun work on their end. As Dr. Arkanian just shared, literally in the board meeting, at closed session in the past 45 minutes is when Dr. Pramo's resignation was received and formally accepted. We have committed to publishing everything that we possibly legally can on the website. We right now are in the process of redacting only that which we absolutely must. If there is a line, we will not take a single step back from that line. We will go to the line on everything that we legally can share regarding this matter, understanding that, again, there is both criminal investigation involved and that there's also certain personnel aspects that will not be able to be disclosed. We understand that is always frustrating. That is always unsatisfying when you can't see the full picture. However, there will be nothing that we legally could provide that would be withheld. At the same time, we are working on scheduling meetings with stakeholder groups as early as tomorrow morning. We have set up the email account to make sure that we are fully ready and available to respond to media inquiries. We understand the level of frustration, the level of sense of violation, the level of mistrust that you expressed that is not just held by you but by many others. We understand that we have a long road ahead to build back that trust, and nothing that any of us will say tonight will actually do that. But we are making public statements that are commitments that we expect to be held accountable for.
Thank you very much. Board members, Dr. Weisberg.
Thank you. Where are my notes? To Ms. Dolbear, thank you. I've been reading with horror about Glendale's complicit actions with ICE. It's pretty terrifying. I think because you have such a little, you probably did not see what the board did in immediate response to the current administration's unconstitutional actions against undocumented members of our community. So I want to point out a couple of things along with what Dr. Macias shared that hopefully will give you a little bit of comfort. On the landing page of our website, we have a resources for immigrant families. You click on it and there's just a whole bunch of things to look at. I believe on the website we also have an archived, we did a webinar, a Know Your Rights webinar with a immigrant rights attorney that you can also watch. We issued a statement as a board. We also issued protocols and step-by-steps to our administration. We also made sure that each one of our campuses has a single point of entry in order to make sure that no police or ICE hidden as something, disguised as something else, can get onto campus without going through our main office. And our administration has been given explicit instructions that if somebody does come, that they should not allow anyone in, but in fact immediately call district site administration. So we've also distributed red cards at every one of our secondary schools. I also want to add that the Burbank Public Libraries have done a phenomenal job and also now have red cards available in multiple languages at all three of the Burbank libraries, which is fantastic, and also on the website. So what I want to say to you is you have every right to feel scared. I think anybody who isn't paying attention, and we continue to talk about what more do we need to be doing, what safety protocols do we need to put in place, but you have the commitment from this board and our administration that every student is going to be safe and protected in our schools. And that if you do see something when you drop your kiddo off and you have questions about it, let us know and we'll make sure to respond. So we reacted really, really quickly. We were out ahead of every other district in doing this. I'm really proud to say that. But I think you've also given me a really helpful reminder that in the packets we send home at the start of the year for this coming academic year, we need to remind everybody of everything we've put into place, including the training we're going to be providing again to our principals. But I'm really thankful to you to remind ourselves that not everybody knew about all the stuff we did. Things change so quickly on a daily basis. There's like 10 new things to be terrified of on the daily. So I appreciate that reminder. I'm so sorry that you're in a position to have to worry when you send your son to Disney, but you're sending him to a phenomenal school, and please know you have the weight of the district behind you and your son. So, but thank you for that. To Team BHS, yay, finally, woo! We're really excited about it. We really appreciate your patience with us as we dealt with all of the things, and then often the really fun, exciting stuff is not the first on the list, it's like the last on the list, which is inevitably the biggest bummer. But thank you for your gentle reminders and thank you for sticking with us. We're really excited to make it happen. And please let us know about fundraising, what you need, where we can direct people, how we can help. Absolutely. So you can shoot us an email. You don't need to schlep down here to do that too. But thank you. And thank you for advocating. I know he would be thanking you too. As a teacher, right? Like, oh, I think I said this to you the first time you came. There's nothing that's a bigger honor than your colleagues celebrating you. I can't think of anything more special or important. Mr. Lewis, echoing what Dr. Macias said, what you don't see at tonight's meeting is the past 6 days, right? Of course you don't. You couldn't. I'm sure what you may or may not have seen is the social media explosions. And, look, I get why everyone rushes to the worst intentions. No one makes an assumption of best intentions, and I get it. It's human nature. But you're looking, you said this is a hard job, but you asked for it. You're absolutely right, we did. Everybody up here does this job and another job, most of us in education. I teach middle school. And I ran for office because there's nothing more important to me than public education. So you're absolutely right, I asked for it. I don't think anybody knows until you're in the position what asking for it is. And sometimes you get weeks like this where, and please, no, I'm not asking for sympathy here. I'm sharing some of the things you didn't know coming in when you came to the podium. You're looking at somebody that hasn't slept in 2 days, who has been meeting today with our cabinet members and our principals so that they found out first. There's going to be an email released tonight as soon as the board meeting concludes, but there are those legal protocols, like we can only talk about things step by step. And I wish we were able to tell everybody all of that because it's totally insufficient to say, I wish I could tell you. And in the same sentence say, but we really strive for transparency. Both things are true. But one makes the other one feel like it's canceled out. I absolutely get it. The first thing we talked about over and over again is the phrase that you used, is getting ahead of it. And we have to, as much as we possibly can, but it still feels, I know, unsubstantial. Hopefully, as more information comes to light, we'll be able to have more nuanced conversations about this situation versus 2 years ago. But 2 years ago isn't that long ago. And it doesn't feel like 2 years to me. It feels like yesterday. And we are still very much in that space of trying to heal and rebuild. And, to your point, right? We all worked our butts off for the bond and we asked for that money in good faith. And I think what I hope will become clearer either tonight or in X number of days is the actions we have taken because we believe that that's absolutely what has to happen in order to hold ourselves accountable and to move forward. There are plenty of districts that would have covered this up, right? I'm not saying give us a medal, don't. We don't deserve it. But what we said to ourselves countless times over the past 6 days is, how much can we share? How quickly can we share it? What steps do we have to take, as painful as they may be, in order to address this and then make positive steps to fix it, move forward, and not have it happen again? So I do feel like we have done that, and I also know that it might not look like that. So we should have been clearer in saying that that link is not live yet. We should have said that in the sentence. We have it as a placeholder. We're just finishing uploading and redacting. So we should have said that will be available early next week, right? Because I'm sure your wife was not the only one to go to the website to look for it, right? Like, that's hugely important. And, it's we're going to make mistakes. So I hope that you will feel comfortable continuing to reach out, because you're going to notice things or need things that it wouldn't even have occurred to us because we're scrambling, right? These past 6 days, huge kudos to our district staff, to Mr. Cantwell and Dr. Achenko for putting together a complete investigation in essentially 48 hours, doing extraordinary work that was also equally painful. So it's not fair to ask you or anybody to assume that we're doing everything we can. I said this to Dr. Agakanian, you know, I'm going to keep telling the truth, even if no one believes me, because it's the truth. We are doing everything we can, but I hope that you will continue to let us know where we're faltering, if there's something you need that we haven't provided, and then we can tell you with honesty, either we would love to be able to give that to you, but we can't right now, or that's a fantastic suggestion, we'll get on that right away. Because that can happen and will happen. And I hope that you will do that, because I think we've been responsive and will continue to be responsive. And this is the first that most people are hearing about it tonight, right? Like, and I think that there aren't a lot of people here because people are on vacation. So some people saw special meeting and they went, oh, what's this? I'm interested. I'm going to come to the board meeting. There are a metric ton of people watching the YouTube right now. So I think that's also happening. And I would wager to guess there will be quite a few people at our next meeting. So I don't want you to feel like this was an attempt to cover anything up. This is 6 days of 24-hour-a-day work to try to get to a place where we could share with you as much as possible. But to echo what Mr. Cantwell said, you have every right to be angry. We're furious. The level of betrayal and anger and rage that I feel, I'm just going to speak for myself, I don't know how to adequately express to you. This district is phenomenal, and I feel like we make amazing progress, and then we run into a brick wall, and then we have to start over again. And one of the things that the board is hoping to do is make sure that we also consistently remind people of the phenomenal work that has been done over the past 2 years by Dr. Paramo, by district staff, and to not let that disappear, because amazing work has been done and will continue to be done. And academics and instruction are continuing to be prioritized. I don't want that to get lost. I don't think any of us do. And if that means I'll sit here for, a year of board meetings where people call for our resignation, I'll do it. I don't care, because I know the good work that's being done, and I want us to get back to a place where we can focus on that. So please keep letting us know, but also eat dinner. It's important. I myself get hangry. But please know that your anger, like there were tears, but those aren't just sad tears. There's real anger here too that we share with you. So please come back, please call, please email. And I hope you will continue to be a partner with us, because we're really going to need it. So thank you, Mr. Lewis. I appreciate you.
Board Member Kano.
Ms. Dolbear, I'm just echoing what everyone else said, and I would like you to know that our district really is ahead. I work in a district, I don't work in this district, and honestly, a lot of what we were doing here, I was literally taking down and telling my district and telling my principal and taking it to our union and saying, we've got to do this. I took the cards down, I said, look what we've got, and we've already translating them to 3 languages, and look at how all of our staff's already been trained, our administrators have been trained. So we have a lot of, I think, safeguards in place right now, but again, to you, actually, and also to you, Mr. Lewis, one of the reasons we work well here in Burbank is because we have the parents who basically, we work together as a community. We work together as we're colleagues. And so again, then Ms. Dolbear, you're coming in and we welcome you coming into kindergarten. We are here, and I want you to understand you're coming into a big family. And like all families, we just have to make sure we're all looking out for each other. If you see, as Dr. Weisberg said, something you're not comfortable with, you've got a great new principal right now at Disney, you've got us, you've got just, like I say, everybody in this district is very easy to get to, so we're reachable. To Mr. Paul, I'm glad you told him in terms of for HR, and to Mr. McNiff, yes, I'm on. That is a huge. It is a huge. As a teacher, if they named a library after me, I'd be happy if they named a hallway after me or something. So Yeah, for Mr. Lewis, again, you are a watchdog, and this is exactly what we need. The flip side is I like that you're here so that you can hear and you can carry back some of the information that didn't, as Dr. Weiss was saying, this unfolded in, it was in lifetime very quick. And there are due process, which I think is big in the news right now, and you realize it doesn't happen immediately. Due process has to happen for, all parties involved. Secondly, that idea of when that we were saying, how much can we share? We weren't talking to ourselves. We were talking to legally, what can we share? So we were talking to Mr. Kent, we were talking to Mr. Sims in terms of what legally can we share. Really, and this is uncharted territory. For me, it's uncharted territory, but for all, we do have, again, due process. The idea of things like, we have things like the Brown Act that now as a new, board member, I'm aware of. So it would have been easy if we could have just gotten together this weekend and, Emily could have talked and Abby could have talked. But there are actual legally things that we can't talk to each other more than two unless we actually have a meeting that we've told the public. So there are, like I said, again, due process for all parties. So if you understand a little bit more of that, because I would have been in your shoes had I not been on this board. And now I'm understanding it's like, okay, but it went very quickly in terms of how much was done, the investigations, and that now we have, there's actual legal process happening right now. So, but again, thank you, and keep being a watchdog. I want to keep working together, and anything maybe we can do in terms of even helping parents understand things like the Brown Act and stuff. I think for people like you who are basically leaders in this district, I think would be great.
Thank you, Vice President Ponser-Kamkar.
Thank you, Dr. Agakanian. Just quickly, to Ms. Dolbear, welcome to Disney. I'm a fellow Disney parent. My son just finished kinder. You're going to love it. Our DI program is excellent. I will also say that our Disney PTA, and in particular our DI committee, has been very active on this particular subject. So I feel very confident in telling you you're in good hands anywhere in Burbank USD on this issue, but in particular at Disney. It's something that school community and the parents of Disney especially feel very passionately about, of making sure that our students are protected. We do have a number of immigrant families at Disney Elementary. So as you kind of come on board and your son I think matriculates, make sure you're joining our PTA and coming to the meetings and all of those kinds of things to understand what that school looks like, and just come say hi at drop off. Mr. Paul, thanks just for sharing your experience. I was really excited to hear about something instruction related for a minute there. I'm really excited about bone flutes. But I wasn't aware of your situation. I just encourage you to reach out to HR, and they can get more specific with you. Mr. McNiff and Ms. Boot and our student representative, whose name I'm totally missed, but hello. Just thanks for advocating for this. I still have the book that Mr. Thomas put together that you guys brought us last time, and my own mother-in-law, who was a teacher at a high school up in San Francisco, was there when I came home from that board meeting, and she looked at that book and she was like, "This person did so much work. Abby, do you have any idea how long it took this person to put together this book?" And I said, all right, well, Rosemary Kamkar is very much in support of renaming the library for Dave Thomas. So thank you for advocating on behalf of your colleague. That's always sweet and heartening to see. So, Mr. Lewis, and I think just generally to the members of our community. I think we had said we weren't going to speak anymore on this other than our statement. And I think part of that was in service of protecting us legally. Part of it was, we feel like we've gotten good legal advice on what we can say and what's not going to get us in trouble. And it feels like we've already had enough trouble, right? So I think there's a tendency to say, I want to tell absolutely everything that I can. Stop me if I can't say it, is what I usually say to staff. But I'll just say this. We are both very angry. And I will say I'm angry because I know what I think is true. And I know what has transpired. I'm furious and sad and hurt. And it is hard to know how to move forward other than the fact that I know that voters put me in this seat to figure that out. You're furious because you don't know what is in there, and it feels like maybe we made a decision quickly. The decision that was made was to accept a resignation. The decision that was made was to allow staff to take this matter to law enforcement. Mr. Cantwell has reminded me that 2 years ago, shortly after we put Superintendent Hill on leave, there was a settlement package that came out. There will not be a settlement package. That would be a public document. We either would have read it out tonight or we would read it out when it was settled, but he has resigned and there is no settlement package. So, I can only commit to you that we will tell you as much as we can when we can tell you. And we are hopeful that the police department will do the same thing. And we are cooperating with them and working with them and all of that. But I understand why you're angry. I think it's important to say that this is embarrassing. I had conversations last week with people in the public about supporting our schools. And I obviously still support our schools, but I get that there will be a lot of repair to do because of this. And some of it is going to be hard to repair until everybody knows more of the facts. And that sucks, frankly. But when Dr. Weisberg talked about getting out ahead of it, we didn't want some long, drawn-out scandal if we could avoid it. Because we believe that when the third-party investigation is done and we're able to release that in a public board meeting, and we hope that that will be done as soon as humanly possible. It probably won't be done in 6 days like staff was able to do, but they've provided them with a lot of information. When that is done, that it will show that what happened that has made all of us so furious and angry and led us here today was relegated to a very small number of people and is not a systemic problem that any of us should be embarrassed about, frankly. That it is individuals, and it doesn't have anything to do with how amazing our schools are. And I certainly am going to need to continue to work to separate this particular issue and everything that goes along with it from the fact that staff and teachers and administrators have done amazing work in our schools, and this shouldn't take away from any of that. So all that to say, thank you for coming. You can come and yell at us anytime. That is what we're here for. Just know, I get it. And I receive that anger because that's the only way we're going to move forward, is we got to get it all out. So, thank you.
Thank you. I think my colleagues have covered all the areas, but again, to Ms. Dober, thank you again. I do agree with my colleagues, what we've done, and also as someone who works at the largest Hispanic serving institution in the United States. I can tell you, we started this early. It's similar, in terms of the protocols. Even the card is same color as where we use it as well. But, it is unfortunate that we need to have these conversations, which I want to kind of use that as a segue to, speaking to Mr. McNiff and the team, what is happening with our libraries right now. Some states trying to pass laws limiting our First Amendment rights. We're at very uncertain times right now. Even libraries are, constantly being attacked. And I can tell you it's very personal to me because our son that's his favorite place to go in school. He goes to the library during his break, his lunch break. That's where he hangs out with his friends. It's a safe place for him, and he loves it. I know where to find him if I ever go visit him during his lunch break. So please continue doing what you're doing, recognizing these individuals that have done so much for us. It's important. But also we need to remind people at this age of AI and technology, more than ever, we need our libraries. And then to Mr. Lewis, I think my colleagues have pretty much covered it up and covered it in terms of what needs to be said, but I would just say it again for anyone who's watching as well. Again, we are committed to being transparent as the law and the investigation process allows and it's appropriate. Again, this is a pending investigation. I hope everyone understands this, and also, again, I will remind everyone, if you believe that you have any information that may be relevant, please do contact Detective John Boris at Burbank PD. His email is jvorhis@burbankca.gov, and his phone number is 818-238-3278. And we also have our own, email here, and that's media@burbankusd.org, and of course, Dr. Sarah Urchenko, thank you very much again. But I think one thing we need to remember, everyone here, more than ever, we need your support in fighting for education. More than ever. So, no matter what happens, don't forget, we're here, my colleagues, everyone here is because we care about the future of our children. And more than ever, we need your support. Thank you. All right, now we're moving to, sorry, I lost where are we? 11A, report on school facility naming committee for Burbank High School Library. Acting Superintendent, Dr. Macias.
Good evening, Dr. Agakanian, board members, fellow district staff. I'm happy to report as a follow-up to a formal recommendation or consideration to rename the Burbank High School Library in honor of Mr. Dave Thompson. What I'd like to do is read what was shared before. It will give its relevance and importance on how we came to this decision here, or the committee makes its recommendation. I'll explain that policy in a little bit. Mr. Dave Thompson was a once-in-a-generation teacher at Burbank High School. He worked at Burbank High from 1985 to 2020. During his 35-year tenure, he played many important roles. He served as the Social Studies Department Chair. He was the WASC Self-Study Coordinator during the 2013 visit. Mr. Thompson was Centennial Chair in 2008. He developed a vision, researched, and wrote a commemorative book that was published illustrating the history of Burbank High dating back to 1908. Quote here, "I don't know anyone else who published a book about the history of where they work." And when he was Key Club advisor from 1986 to 2013, it was in this endeavor where he led our students to repaint the large letter B on the hills of Burbank. This became an annual event that gave the B a fresh coat of white paint. But the most significant contribution Dave Thompson has made was to our kids, to our school and community. He was a teacher. Quite simply, he was the model teacher at our school for 3.5 decades. He quickly established himself as a highly desirable teacher. In doing so, he was selected as the LA County Teacher of the Year in 1999. And finally, Mr. Thompson had the yearbook dedicated to him twice, once in 1991 and again in 2013. So again, just to review the process, we followed Board Policy 7310, renaming facility. We did, as part of the policy, create a committee. The committee was consisted of 2 school board members, 2 Burbank High School teachers, Burbank High School parent, a Burbank High School classified staff member, 3 members of the community, the principal of Burbank High School, and the director of student services. The committee met on May 5th, 2025 to discuss naming Burbank High School's library after former Burbank High School teacher Dave Thompson. Members discussed and considered the naming. After much discussion, it was unanimously agreed upon that a recommendation for formally giving a name to the Burbank High School library after Dave Thompson. And there is no fiscal impact, and that's part of the policy. Anything that is done for this is fundraised, and once we approve this, or it is approved, then I am sure they're ready to form a committee, and we'll help them along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys want to make this is a report. Yeah. Any questions?
Just thank you for all your work on this.
Yeah, thank you guys for your advocacy.
And congratulations. You did it.
Yay!
All right, item 11B has been pulled. 11C report, oh, that one has been also pulled. All right. Now we're going to public hearing. This is 12A, public hearing on the 2025-2026 local control and accountability plan and budget. I'm gonna gavel now. The Board of Education will now conduct a public hearing on the 2025-2026 local control and accountability plan and budget per the requirements of the law as presented. Would anyone like to address the board on this matter? Do you have any cards? Anyone online? All right. Closing now. Now, the following reports are under the public hearing section, even though they are reports to the board. 12B, we have the first reading of the 2025-26 proposed budget. Mr. Cantwell.
I'm actually going to invite Dr. Abdelhamid to present our first reading on our budget.
Thanks, Robin. Or maybe it is pulled up, but, oh, okay. Could we get the slides up? Yeah. Like talking to the ether? No. Good evening, board members, PUST colleagues, community members. My name is Miriam Abdelhamid, and I'm presenting our first reading of our 25-26 adopted budget. Our second reading will go to the board on June 26th. We first wanted to start with a bit of an overview of the full year budget cycle. It's really a continuous year-round cycle, the first step being adopting our budget on or before July 1. The budget is adjusted at both first and second interim. This is based on actual revenue and expenditures comparing to the assumed or planned amounts at the adopted budget. For instance, the state may provide a dollar allocation for a grant, but that amount may be revised, and thus we have to adjust our budgets accordingly. So it is a bit of a continuous process and fluid. Expenditures are also adjusted during interims as we budget for various vacancies. So you'll see today we've budgeted for various vacancies for the full year. But as we get into first and second interim, obviously if a vacant position has been vacant for a few months, then our budget numbers can be decreased from that. And so again, we're constantly updating these numbers and constantly projecting. Beyond our adopted budget and first and second interim, we also have unaudited actuals, so that will go to the board in September. And as part of our adopted budget, we do create estimated actuals, so how did we end the 24-25 year? But again, we don't fully close our books, our fiscal books, until August and September. We do accruals over the summer. We have to do a bunch of processes to close our books and prepare for our year end. And so then we take a formal unaudited actuals to the board in September, and then we have real numbers to truly carry over into the new fiscal year. So again, we'll kind of present this same cycle, but our unaudited actuals in a couple months. And again, this is background for kind of viewers. I'm sure many of us in the room are aware of this stuff, but just for viewers who may be new to the budget process, this is really how our county certifies our budget. So at adopted or at interims, there are 3 levels of certification, including positive, which means the district, based on our current projections, can meet both our current financial obligations and then the 2 out years. A qualified certification indicates that there's a chance the district may not be able to meet those obligations. And then a negative certification means the district will not be able to. And so we're confident that within this adopted budget, our certification by LA County will be positive based on the numbers we've kind of forecasted. Okay, so I'm going to start with some assumptions that are directly from our school services dartboard. So this really dictates a few key components of our budget. The first being COLA. So again, this really impacts how much we get in our local control funding formula revenue, and that is really the majority of the revenue we receive. So the Department of Finance, based on the May revise, released a statutory COLA of 2.3% for the current year, and then 3.02% and 3.42% in the 2 out years. Although this isn't as high as past years, it is a good sign that it's funded and at least assumed to increase in the coming years. I think it's dictated here that current year was 1.07, but prior years have been in the 8% range. And so I think historical average has trended higher, but right now these are the numbers we're running with. And so again, even though our enrollment typically has been declining the last couple of years because of the COLA increase, our revenue isn't hit kind of as bad as presumed. So something to note, these numbers were higher at second interim. So at each interim, the school services team and kind of at the legislative level, they release new dartboard numbers. And so these kind of COLA numbers were higher at second interim. So that is just a reality that we have to constantly be keeping up with these numbers. So the COLA could change again. These numbers are based on the May revise. We're hoping that they won't, but the official budget that will be released in June will dictate that. So if we do find that out within the next few weeks, hopefully before we come to you again on the 26th, we will update that accordingly. But again, fingers crossed that they don't decrease. Other factors used from the school services dartboard that are kind of key components are our benefit costs. And so that is our STRS and PERS rates. STRS rate remaining stagnant. It's been stagnant for a bit now. PERS rate does fluctuate. It's actually decreasing as of, based on the number that was given at second interim for this coming year. It's actually decreasing slightly. And so that rate will actually be 26.8%. Which is at least a couple $100,000 in savings. However, that rate is still intended to increase in the out years. And again, unless there's a major shift in legislative action, we don't foresee this number changing, but again, we do have to wait until the June budget officially. Okay, so other budget assumptions, more so on the revenue side. So this includes our average daily attendance. And so for our community, school districts are funded on the greater of either current average daily attendance, prior year, or the average of the last 3 prior years. So in our case, we're funded on 3-year average. Our ADA is, our average daily attendance is about 94% of our enrollment. And so as depicted, our ADA is projected to decline in the 25-26 fiscal year and in the out years. And so this, again, directly impacts the dollar amount that we receive from the state. And so I just sent over actually to Student Services kind of what does this number mean, our 94% ADA, and what that means if we were at, let's say, 100% ADA, which typically isn't kind of assumed because we assume there are absences of students. But really, I mean, this is several $1 million worth of funding that is lost due to absences. And so I just want to kind of reiterate that to public. I'm not saying that any student should come to school sick, but just hopefully realizing that absences do impact us financially. So other assumptions to revenue, so we did reduce one-time revenues that we received that we're no longer receiving in the coming or out years, such as the Learning Recovery Block Grant. However, we did include some one-time revenues that were articulated in the May revise. And so once we have a full expenditure plan, so those numbers, for instance, have been budgeted in this budget, but the full expenditure plan has not. And so once we have a definitive plan for that, we will bring that to the board. Other assumptions include kind of federal funding. We did assume a nominal decline. However, just due to the state of the federal government, we are monitoring this heavily in case drastic cuts are made, but we are right now not anticipating that. 2 things that we did last year, and our auditors have explicitly recommended that we continue to do this. We did not adopt gift revenues, and so, because they really aren't guaranteed. So as they come in, that's when we adopt both the revenue and the expenditure budget for them. And so you'll see that when we present first interim, we likely will have got a couple months worth of gift revenues. And so you'll see that both on the expenditure and the revenue side. We also did not budget carryover, and so once we finalize the numbers in the summer and we present to you unaudited actuals and we have a real definitive carryover number per resource, per location, that's when we'll actually adopt that and adjust the budget accordingly.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yes, sure.
So I literally read today,
Yeah.
there's a bill being proposed by a legislator out of Bakersfield that would add a waiver if there are significant absences attributed to immigration raids. I didn't see, because I have not done a deep dive, I didn't see if it was, like, what percentage it would need to be.
Yeah.
But it might be worth, because
Right.
it looks like it's about the ripple effects of it. So if
Yeah.
people are afraid that there are going to be raids, and you see an uptick in student absences. So I think it's just something to keep in mind.
Sure.
I obviously do not know the details, but something I read today that might be worth sort of putting in our back pockets. To
Yeah,
think
for
about.
sure. I think us looking at what, right now, again, we have 94% average
Right.
daily, so just looking at what that 6% absence rate is made up of and kind of drilling down further if that's something that would help us in the future.
That bill specifically is if you see a decline in excess of 10% of your normal. That's the number that would trigger it. That'd allow you to do a J90 similar to the weather event we had in January.
All right, awesome. So we'll go. Oh. There we go. Other assumptions made were based on our LCAP plan, and I do believe that plan will be fully articulated in the next section by Dr. Anders. But again, as an LEA, we have a base kind of LCFF funding and then supplemental grant funding in the form of LCAP because of our unduplicated pupil count, and that being over 20%. And so those unduplicated students, that's made up of English language learners, students who receive free and reduced meals, and then foster youth. And you can see our unduplicated pupil count ranges around 37 to 38%, so we do qualify for LCAP funds. However, there is an additional revenue source called concentration dollars. We don't currently qualify for it. We would have to have an unduplicated pupil count of above 55%. So just a notion for folks. And so you can see how much revenue we have dictated here under LCAP in our adopted budget and in the out years. Now to the general fund revenue overview. I'm hoping these don't, again, dramatically change between now and June 26. But again, we do have to wait for that the governor's June budget. So again, we're going to be constantly looking at that COLA number just to see if that changes in the next few weeks. So I'm not going to highlight every number here on the screen, but wanted to flag a few key points. So you can see our LCFF revenue increase from current year to adopted budget. And so even though our enrollment is declining, because of the anticipated COLA, we are still anticipating additional revenue from based off of current year. And so again, we have an enrollment declining, but COLA increasing, and so that kind of outweighs the enrollment decline. And so hopefully that makes sense as to how that's derived. From a federal revenue perspective, again, relatively stagnant. We're assuming a nominal decline. We're monitoring this, but we haven't been given any guidance on whether Title I funds, Title III funds, special ed, any of the federal sources that we're getting are going to be cut dramatically. We really haven't been given guidance related to this. For other state revenue, this is made up of primarily restricted state revenue. So this is what I was referencing in terms of the Learning Recovery Block Grant, ACES, ELOP, our Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, Prop 28, our arts and music funding. And so these are all kind of restricted state revenues. And again, some of these are not guaranteed in the out years, and so those have just been budgeted accordingly. And again, if we learn that some of this funding will continue, then at first or second interim, we would update that in our MYP, our multi-year projection. In terms of other local revenue, again, this decline, I somewhat articulated it earlier, but is based on gifts. And so you can see our estimated actuals number looks higher because we obviously have a year's worth of gift revenue in there. And so as we get into first or second interim, we'll update those gift revenue budgets and the expenditure budgets accordingly. And again, this is a somewhat conservative approach. We could, in theory, estimate a gift budget, but in the odd chance that we don't get those gift revenues, we don't want to make that call. So there are a couple things in that local revenue that we assume year over year, such as Medi-Cal funding, or other things that are kind of more locally driven, but that we have more onus on those numbers. Okay. Skip to expenditures. So now we're going to look at the expenditure side of the budget. We'll start again with some assumptions, and then we'll look at the numbers. So we did utilize the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, to create estimates for various goods and services and allocation budgets. We've included any step and column increases for the next year across all of our filled positions, and for all of our vacant positions, we assume an average position cost. And so again, we assume that all vacancies are held for the entire year. And so this does somewhat inflate the budget from that perspective, but it is, again, a conservative budgeting approach. But again, we'll update those numbers at first and second interim. If a vacancy has been held and we don't have expenditures for it, you'll see that kind of in the budget at that point. So to create site discretionary budgets, we took projected enrollment for each site and we multiplied this by a per student amount. And so for elementary, this is $63 a student, at middle it's $80, and at high schools it's $99. And there are a couple other discretionary kind of operational pots of funds. This includes money for STC and RSP classrooms for special ed students, and kind of the discretionary dollars for those classrooms, things such as transportation for high schools, that sort of thing. We've accounted for any STRS and PERS kind of changes, and so in this case, it's just PERS, and that actually has decreased since what we thought it would be. We've accounted for a kind of a percentage increase for health and welfare based on historical trends and how many more employees we assume to be utilizing the maximum cap. And then we've also accounted for any one-time funding expenditures or kind of budgets that we got as a one-time and we're no longer getting. And so we've accounted for those sort of things in the current budget and then the MYP, the multi-year. Okay, so drilling into some of the numbers. Again, I'm not going to go through each number, but again, some high points. And so for certificated salaries, that first row there, so you'll see a significant decline between estimated actuals and our proposed budget. This is due to a variety of reasons. The main being that we've kind of worked with various departments, school sites, leadership, on kind of position control. There's also been several cuts related to our fiscal stabilization plan due to declining enrollment. And so these sort of things have been accounted for in this budget here. For classified positions, you could see this actually being projected to be higher, but primarily this is due to vacancies. And so if, for instance, our estimated actuals includes a full year of a vacant position, but then in our proposed budget, we're assuming that that full year cost is actually in there. As far as benefits, again, the main change is related to health and welfare increase, and then a PERS change, and so there's just fluctuations across benefits. For books and supplies, you could see what seems to be a significant increase, so from 6.5 million in estimated actuals to over 9 million in the proposed budget. For clarity, there's a couple reasons for this, but so we worked with various departments on their budgets this year, and so typically, kind of where we underspend in 1 year for materials and supplies and books and supplies, it's typically because in 1 or 2 years, we're likely going to make some large purchase. And so every few years, for instance, we may incur a large textbook cost. And so that's not an every year ordeal. And so you can see we've placed that for the next year, but then in the 2 out years, we've kind of decreased it again. And so whether that kind of large expenditure hits in this coming year, if it doesn't, then that will get moved to the following year. But it has to be accounted for every couple years, just because we don't want to assume that we're not going to make those large purchases again for things like textbooks or Chromebooks or other investments in that realm. Okay, so the next one, the next row is services, and so great deal of this is contracts, example, transportation for our students with IEPs, special ed contracts, instructional contracts, even our printer contract with Sharp, just various technologies such as Granicus or Smarty, Aries, all these different things kind of fall into this category. And then in terms of capital outlay, you could see very minor expenses compared to current year, and that's primarily due to the bond. Again, we're just showing currently general fund, and so we're not talking any other fund right now except Fund 1. And then the last 2 other outgo, this is mainly for student attendance in state special schools, debt service, interest payments, a variety of other kind of fun budget things. And then other adjustments are really related to transfers of indirect costs. And so between funding resources, we're allowed to, it's like, for instance, Title I, we're able to say, well, a portion of that can be alleviated off the general fund. Title I can go towards that. And so that's how you're seeing there as a negative. It's really kind of a credit from those other resources for indirect costs. Okay. And so as far as our general fund contributions, I promise I only have a few more slides. The main contribution made is related to special ed, which you can see is increasing. And there's, again, a few factors related to this. So one of which, this current year, we used one-time funds to be able to cover a few $1,000,000 related to special ed costs. And again, those are one-time funds. We will not see that again. And so kind of the status quo of how much we've typically contributed towards special ed will kind of resume next year and in the out years. And additionally, again, that number includes vacancies and other things that kind of inflate it in a sense, but again, a conservative budgeting approach. So other things related on this contributions list, so ongoing maintenance, so routine restricted maintenance. This is remaining relatively stagnant, just for public perception. This is a required budget that has to be about 3% of our entire expenditure budget. For district rentals, this is actually a contribution to the general fund. And so it being shown as a negative means that we're getting money for it. And so I do apologize, the row below it, the joint use row, should also be shown with a negative symbol. And so I'll make sure I correct that in the 26th presentation. But both the rental of district property and the City of Burbank joint use, we are actually getting money into the general fund, so they're contributing in. Yes, I apologize for that. I didn't realize until the last minute that I didn't have I had the wrong symbol, which I didn't include the symbol in this case. And then the last piece here is related to retiree benefits. So the cost for this year is actually closer to $2 million, but the $2.4 million shown there is because, so we used to have an investment account that would pay for these retiree benefits. And then we've kind of liquidated all the assets in it to pay for these retiree benefits. And it was known that this was going to fully hit the general fund at some point. So last year we had just under kind of 1.4 million from that liquidated account. And so that Fund 67 entered the new year in a deficit. And so that's why this year we did have to contribute more, but in the out years it will be closer to that $2 million number. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, we used to use Fund 71 as a investment kind of holding account, and so you'll see that we actually aren't using that anymore. We've liquidated all the assets.
And if I
Okay.
can, just
Oh,
because
yeah.
this was a decision made before I came, and so I know we have a few board members who may not have been involved in the discussion. As I understand, we at one time were able to set aside funds for these commitments that we've made to our employees. This is not PERS and STIRS where things go up to the state and we have no discretion over it. These are local commitments that we have made to our employees. If they work for us a certain number of years, they're eligible for benefits for a certain period of time after retirement. So when we had funding in the past, we were building up a trust to allow us to use that funding to pay that ongoing obligation. During our financial difficulties, the board made the decision that we can no longer afford to have, I believe at one point it was about $10 million that was set aside, that was just sitting there, that was our money, but we had just set aside in this trust a fund. They said, let's start drawing down the money to be able to meet our other obligations because it doesn't seem reasonable to make even deeper cuts to staffing when this funding was available. So that's why we drew down this account. That's why it's now fully depleted. And moving forward, we are in a fully pay-as-you-go program where we will pay each year for the cost of this program.
And that program is $2 million approximately each year. Okay, so let me skip. So I think this is also a board agenda item in, maybe it's just a simple report, but I have it here as a slide. And so just as per ed code, actually, sorry, am I on the wrong? Yeah, no, I'm on the right one. Again, so as per ed code, we just have to show that we can meet our 3% reserve for economic uncertainty. And so again, today you'll see in the next few slides when I show the MYP, the multi-year projection, that we can in fact meet that for this year and the 2 out years. Okay. I won't spend too much time on here because really this is a synopsis of what I just went over. So really the MYP that you likely have, or if you have the full packet, has 4 years. It has estimated actuals, current year, and 2 out years. It's just too much to show in one slide. And so we have 2 slides, the multi-year projection on the next one, and the estimated actuals and adopted on the first one. And so just a couple things here. We've already talked a bit about the first section, so sections A and B, the revenues and the expenditures and how those were derived. So something I did want to highlight, though, is really more so sections C and D, which talk a little bit about our kind of excess, or in our case, deficiency. And so you can see that we deficit spend every year. And I don't think that we can go from, I think right now it's closer to, and what number is that actually? It's very small. Let me see. Yes, exactly. So for us to go from an $18 million deficit spend to 0 the next day is just not possible. And so it really has to be a kind of longer term plan. But that I am kind of excited at least to see that within the 4 kind of columns, you'll see that that is trending downwards. And so really that is the longer term plan. It's just not going to happen overnight. And so some hard decisions have to be made to get us there, but that's not an ideal situation for us to be in to continue to deficit spend. But again, the key point here is that we can meet our 3% reserve obligation in the current year or in the adopted year. And then I will skip to the multi-year.
And I'm going to also give
yeah.
one more supplement to Dr. Abdelhamid's statements. That deficit she just referenced is the combination of restricted, unrestricted. Remember, on the restricted side, that's almost entirely, we cannot deficit spend, or we cannot spend in excess of what we have for the restricted side. The reason that we're able to deficit spend is because that's where some one-time funding is. And so, or like ELOP funds that we are carrying over a balance. And so that is not a problem at all. That's not a structural deficit. That's us drawing down funding. The structural deficit is really on the unrestricted side, and that number is the number that's between the 5 and 7 million. The only thing that I'll highlight here is the biggest thing that I think the community, you as the board, and we as the finance team really look at is that ultimate ending fund balance in the 3rd year. I don't think we have a slide on this, but it's an easy number to remember, so I will let you know at second interim. We were anticipating that the funding available beyond the minimum 3% was going to be $4,000. So the good news is, because of that one-time funding grant that we are anticipating actually being funded, the discretionary block grant, they have a new fancy name for it, but ultimately it's a discretionary block grant. That is what allows us to actually fund elementary PE for this coming year. We also have included in this funding it for a second year. And so we are using the one-time discretionary to allow ourselves to maintain this funding priority for 2 years. It would, right now, and you will see a fiscal stabilization plan come to the next meeting, it will be identified as a program that we do not currently have funding for beyond those 2 years. But even with that said, being able to add the elementary PE to 2 years, we still are increasing that last third year from $4,000 to $1.4 million. Over that 3% minimum. So it is still a priority for us to continue to be fiscally responsible and prudent, but we are making some incremental progress.
And
Sorry, excuse me. So that's the line that's unassigned / unappropriated 1422.
Yeah,
422.
exactly.
That's a fun number. You're right. That is a fun number. And so that's essentially a reserve on top of the required reserve for economic uncertainty.
yeah, it just isn't in the where board approved reserve was always kind of an additional 3%, but we can't actually afford that additional 3%. But that's unassigned right now. And then the block grant is called Student Support and Professional Development Discretion. I mean, it's a long one. And so just looking out in the out year portion of the MYP, so you can see revenues are anticipated to go up, again, primarily due to the COLA, again, outweighing the enrollment decline. But again, this is a fluid kind of COLA percentage, and so as we get updates, we'll update you all. In terms of MYP assumptions, Andy already kind of indicated some of this, but we've used step and column increases for the out years. We've assumed elementary PE will be funded in the current year and then the next year, but then being removed out in the third year. And so other things related to our fiscal stabilization plan are within this. And so again, you can see in sections C and D, even though not ideal to deficit spend, it is kind of trending in a better direction. And again, we can meet our 3% reserve the current year and the 2 out years. And so again, I do think that we're making strides towards kind of staying in fiscal solvency, but more discussions need to be held. And then the last thing here, I think there's also another board report that kind of follows this, but really we have to report out how we are spending our education protection account dollars. And so this is really a part of our LCFF funding. And so our district has primarily always done this the same way, where these funds go directly towards certificated salaries and benefits. And so again, this is just something that we have to identify and kind of report out to you all. That number is $27 million this coming year. And again, these are just challenges that I wanted to highlight, but again, economy is still facing significant headwinds. Both our state government and our federal government just seem to have very fluid numbers, but we're kind of just trying to stay vigilant. And then just other challenges relate to just having unfilled positions, which trickles down to needing contractors and other kind of just high costs, because we now have to pay almost a finder's fee or a middleman component rather than just paying for someone's salary and benefits and not that additional component. So just other things that we need to be looking into and staying aware of. And I think I have taken more than enough time, but I'm happy to field questions. And again, this budget will come to you again on June 26th.
Vice President Kamkar.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So first of all, thank you for this. Admittedly, I have not spent as much time with this as I normally would have directly before the meeting, so apologies.
No worries.
Because I do like to try to ask stuff ahead of time. Remind me, so you've used assumptions, I think very reasonable assumptions based on what we know about the state budget, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is there, if things change between now and when the budget is adopted and we amend or you all, and staff brings us a budget that looks a little bit different from this, does that affect this process at all?
Again, legally, we are required to bring a first reading of the budget. That's what tonight is. It is a very normal and expected process that you will not receive the exact same budget at the next meeting. One of the reasons, one of the multiple purposes of a first reading is for you, who are ultimately responsible for the fiscal solvency of the district and for approving this budget, is to give us feedback. Obviously, we work in collaboration with you throughout the year, so we have a clear understanding of your budget priorities. But if one of you seeing the $1.4 million ending fund balance that we just mentioned and said, we really feel that we should not be holding on to that, that should go toward X priority, this or any time before the next meeting would be when that would take place. We also are contained to update based on any new staffing changes that we know about. If we learn that the COLA might change, all of those things will take place. So I can say with certainty that we already have made changes from what you are seeing tonight. I believe it changes by about $20,000.
Yeah.
But there are, her team is not done by any means. There will be work up until when it is published. If a drastic change occurs, because there have been years in which the state really does go all the way up until June 30th. You know, there are times in the past when they went well past that. Somehow when the state enacted a law that said you don't get paid if you don't pass a budget, it all of a sudden now does get passed in June. But sometimes it's really close to the 26th, and we may not have the latest information. There could be a June surprise. If that happens, we have the ability to have a 45-day revision. That comes back to you by August 15th, 45 days from the start of the fiscal year. So there have been times in years past here in Burbank where we did bring a 45-day revision. That was before my time.
Okay, yeah, I'm remembering that now. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm also happy to walk through so really we have an adopted budget workbook that's very clear. I mean, table of contents that takes you to each tab to define how we got to every number. I'm happy to sit down with anyone to go over that. Yes, tell me when and we can set up time. Yeah.
You know I might take you up on that, right? So then the other question is just, I know we've talked about the block grant being used for the elementary PE teachers for 2 years, and that is essentially the reason that we've got a not $4,000 balance at the end of this. So I may have missed the number. Remind me how much we're expecting that block grant to be and what other things we are planning to put under that at this point.
It's about $4 million. And so I think the details beyond the elementary PE, that's what we would have to formally agree on and then bring to you to decide upon. So right now it's in there as almost a placeholder. And so it's being placed there, but it's not being attributed to something specifically in the out years yet. It's just almost just being placed as if it was like a general salary line, and we don't have a full expenditure plan yet. But yeah, I don't know if Andy wants to add to that, but. Yeah, of course. Oh.
In the state's infinite wisdom and support of local district fiscal stewardship, they have passed a law that prohibits districts from carrying more than 10% as a reserve. And anytime that you're carrying in excess of the state minimums, we are required to publicly disclose why it is that we would be trying to hold on to more than about 4 days worth of payroll as a reserve. I hope you get some of that sarcasm and frustration. Thanks. So we are holding on, if you look at the current year and or the current proposed adopted budget, we are holding on to actually a very healthy reserve. It's far in excess of 10%. The reason for that is because of the one-time funding that we've received that we intentionally, strategically, and financially responsibly retained, knowing that when that goes away that we cannot have ongoing commitments. And so as we draw down from the reserve, because we still have a structural deficit, that's what allows us to have this runway of being able to adjust staffing levels. We have the fiscal stabilization plan for implementation based on the time that we have built up from this reserve. So our explanation of why we're holding on to the reserve is not particularly thorough, but obvious. It is prudent for the district to carry an amount over the required and board-approved reserve to protect against the volatility of state revenues. Obviously, we'd extend that statement to federal as well. This is another procedural requirement for this first meeting in June. Dr. Abdelhamid did a great job explaining its purpose. This is just part of a legacy law that, as we transitioned from revenue limits to LCFF, they held on to ensure that the community knew that an element of LCFF is this. And so this is just reporting out on the commitment of those funds.
Right, 12E, first reading of the 25-26 Burbank Unified School District Local Control Funding Formula and Local Control and Accountability Plan. Dr. Knapik and Dr. Anders.
So I'd like to invite Dr. Anders to go ahead and share a presentation on the LCAP. Dr. Anders.
Good evening, Dr. Anders.
Good evening. Thank you, President Agakanian, Vice President Ponsar Kamkar, Member Weisberg and Member Kano, Acting Superintendent Dr. Macias, BUSD staff, community. My name is Robin Anders. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology and Accountability, and I'm presenting tonight on our LCAP, which is a plan that we submit, and it's a process that we go through each year to update our supplemental budget and our priorities, make sure we're aligned to our board goals, state priorities, and our local interests. So I'm going to talk us through the process of where we are today, but primarily focus on what we will be doing as far as a budget in our 25-26 plan. So in our LCAP, it's a requirement for all school districts to meet 8 state priorities. And so we address these with our goals and our budget and actions to address all 8 of these priorities, as well as metrics to measure whether we're making progress towards the increases and improvements we want to see for our school district. Additionally, our LCAP is formatted and outlined to support our 4 board goals and district goals, with the first one and primary focus being on academics and preparing students for college and career. The second being supporting students to be physically, emotionally, and mentally healthy on our campuses and in our schools. The third is to recruit and retain high-quality teachers and staff. And the fourth is to continue to support and have high-quality infrastructure and facilities for our staff and students and families. The local control funding formula, LCFF, is already been introduced tonight by Dr. El-Hamid, and it's a funding mechanism unique to the state of California that includes supplemental funding or supplemental grant. As she described, those dollars are generated by special populations in our district. The term unduplicated I will get into more detail in a second. We do not qualify for concentration funding, even though we do have districts very close to us, like Glendale, that do get those additional dollars. This is the slide to describe our unduplicated population. It includes students who are English learners, foster youth, homeless, and free and reduced meal program participants. The term unduplicated is specific to this plan and this funding because it only counts students once, regardless if they are meeting multiple categories. So just to explain that in a sense, a student who is a participant in our free and reduced meal program, but also an English learner, would only count once in our total unduplicated count, even though they have both needs as an English learner and no socioeconomic status. You can see the trends in our numbers over the past 3 years, and we've been holding steady. We rebounded a bit this year with our identification of students Primarily, that is because our English learner population has been increasing. We've discussed that when it comes to our performance on assessments and other metrics. And the other reason is we've campaigned really hard for families to complete meal applications or income surveys. We understand that all students eat for free right now, and that's a great opportunity for our students. But our funding is based off of students who are identified. And so it's really critical that our families support our schools at no cost to them to be able to generate more funds through this grant and state funding. So this year's adoption timeline, we've had a series of meetings starting in the fall where we go over specific parts of the plan. And here we are today, June 5th, having our first reading. This is a requirement to have a first and second reading. We also submit the plan to LACO, and they have oversight over the entire plan. We also send it to our CELPA also for review and for their support in our priorities. Did I double that slide? Sorry. So we've had a couple different checkpoints within our meetings of our first interim estimates and second interim as far as our budget. We've met to review all of our metrics and as they relate to our LCAP goals, the 4 goals of our district, and then we finalize the recommendations here. So I want to just jump to the meat of what everyone would be interested in. This is a little bit repetitious for anyone who's been part of our meetings throughout the school year, but I know a lot of you are learning about the LCAP first time tonight. I do want to recognize all of our educational partners who have participated and thank them for their input and oversight as far as this process. You can see there the primary reason we have to make a reduction in next year's LCAP is this spending down of what were carryover funds in our supplemental budget. These were funds that were accumulated by one-time funds that were utilized during the distance learning associated with the pandemic and COVID-19. That allowed us to spend those one-time dollars first and set a reserve for this supplemental fund. We've been spending that down by just keeping all of the personnel in place that we've had over the last couple of years. So this isn't adding new things or buying new things or paying for new people. This is being able to create longevity for all of the services and staff that we've had traditionally. We've had to make cuts. Last year we had to make cuts to the tune of about $1 million. This year we identified that if we did nothing different and went into next year, we would be overspending or we would be shortfall of $500,000. So with that in mind, we've discussed through a series of meetings ways we can reduce funding and still provide the same level of service to our students and in our schools. And so these are the specific items that we've identified where we can either reduce or remove funding altogether. Some of these items, it's possible to fund through other funding, but the majority of these are reductions in the service that we're able to provide. I'm going to get to the next slide to address how we can alleviate some of these reductions because they are significant. I do want to highlight that these have been very difficult conversations all year because at this point, we're not just cutting meat, we're cutting to the bone of what we do for our students. Any of these things at this point, to some degree, are essential. We just don't have the funding to be able to continue them. So I want to honor anybody and everyone who's been a part of any of these services to recognize how much value they have to us. But these are difficult decisions that we have to make in order to be able to be solvent and spend the money that we have. So with that, I do want to recognize the big ticket item on here is our elementary intervention specialists as one, and the 2 curriculum specialists. But I want to identify how those will be able to alleviate some concerns there. We have cut by more than what we needed, and part of that was an organic conversation throughout the year. of looking of where we can reduce, and identifying that if we reduce by more than we have to, we may be able to implement some new services that can still provide the same level of support for students. And in some ways meet our current needs better than what some of the services were that have been traditionally in place. And so with that in mind, we were able to identify that behavior interventionists is a need at all of our sites, especially at elementary, where we've seen students with more extreme behaviors, students that are somewhat dysregulated, and not situations that our current staff or staffing, I should say, was able to meet that demand. We want to be preventative. We don't want to be reactive to these student needs, and so we felt that this was a good direction to go. Additionally, the wellness and behavior specialists is replicating a model that we found to be successful with secondary. Last year, if you recall, we had to close one of our schools, our community day school, and created a new program called SOAR. Along with that, we were able to identify specialists to support students not only in that program, but at their home school with behavior and attendance. We're modeling a same program and same staffing at our elementary schools. The last one is the elementary assistant principals. This is specific to our two largest elementary schools, and they are in place of the two curriculum specialists that were identified in the previous slide to be removed. So the funding is very similar and most likely an increase, but we believe the demand is there at those two schools to have that type of support for the student population and the size of the school, of having another administrator on campus. The last one is our outdoor science school support funding, which was an item that we really wanted to include as an equity piece. Many of our students get the benefit of having that outdoor science experience in 5th grade, and some of our schools and populations have a very challenging time coming up with the funds to provide that opportunity for their students. And so we wanted to have an item in this plan that allowed us to provide support where it's absolutely needed to ensure every kid in our district has that opportunity regardless of their socioeconomic status or the school's overall count of students that are in need. This slide highlights the spending, and you can see that the bulk of our dollars are spent in our instructional services, Goal 1. That has increased over the last couple of years because we've made significant decreases in Goal 2 and Goal 3. We've seen our instruction as a priority to continue to increase student performance. We've seen really good data on our graduation rate the last couple of years, especially this year, and we're really proud of that. We feel like the work isn't done with how we perform on state assessments, and it's been a very specific identified plan for us to continue to address A through G rates at high school. And next board meeting, you'll see more information on that. You can also see that the carryover that we're looking at actuals for this year is only around 300,000. Next year will be determined depending on our estimated actuals and the revenues that we're able to bring in. So our last couple slides here really represent exactly what's in our budget. To this point, I've only highlighted the things that would change and any additions. But these slides identify specifically every piece of what we do. Just want to identify that in our supplemental budget, this is typical spending in a district is about 85% on personnel, just staffing. This budget specifically, that percentage is more like 90 or 92%. So the bulk of these dollars is spent providing staffing for our schools that provide these services for our students. If there's any questions the board has on any of these specific items, I'm not going to go through one by one. Many of you who are familiar with our LCAP are familiar with all of these items from previous presentations. So our next step is to receive any feedback from LACO. We have already received some feedback from them, a few small edits that they're requesting based off of numbers that they want us to use in our total base LCFF dollar amount. They want us to exclude some of the dollars that we've included. We're trying to be as transparent as possible, but those are restricted funds that they don't want us to include. So that will be one small change that you see in the actual document of the plan.
Could you talk a little bit just about that and what they want us to change?
So they ask for in the LCAP document, which is not in this presentation. It's a 155-page document. It puts the accountability in my title to the limit. But anyway, they give us. There's a budget overview you'll see in that shows the slice of the pie that the LCAP supplemental budget is, and the other piece of that is total LCFF base funding. There are specific programs that are state funded that they don't want us to include in that dollar amount, like ELOP or other things. So it's literally just the base funding that is part of that. So that is going to be the one budget dollar amount you'll see that's changed after tonight. That's the one piece of feedback really that they've given us.
Do you think that they noticed the irony in telling us how we should allocate money that's in our local control?
It wasn't about it's not that, it's more making that pie look the way it's supposed to. Yeah. But all in all, that's really good if that's the only piece of constructive feedback we're receiving. Yeah. So, tonight is kind of the last opportunity to make any changes or any suggestions before we finalize the plan at the next board meeting.
I have a question more about process. So this is my third LCAP, and I think that it has gotten better every year. And especially when we had to do a new one last year and this year, right? I think I want to just really commend the team on the way that you've conducted the meetings and the public outreach. I know that especially some of the early ones got kind of spicy. And I'm curious, from a process perspective of at least that part, is there anything that we are thinking about doing differently for next LCAP, right? Is there anything that we've learned? And maybe the answer is no, and that's okay, but I'm interested to hear kind of from a process perspective if there's any improvements that we can make internally on this.
Yeah, one of the things I want to point out is the last couple of years we've had to initiate the conversations with an update on what we anticipate we're going to have to cut, because that's usually the biggest item that we're going to have faced with dealing with. I feel really good about the fact that we've gotten to a place now where the LCAP is going to be pretty much solvent in that sense of like we spent the carryover dollars down, and we're not going to have to continue to make significant cuts, so we're able to start the conversation from a different place next year. And so I'm excited about that, because I do believe that there's a lot of opportunity to really look at our goals and our metrics and our performance and have those types of conversations about our academics and those pieces, as opposed to having to start the year strictly coming from a budget deficit perspective. So I would I'm planning to, or we are planning to start the year with a lot of conversation about that, which will be a nice place to be.
That makes a lot of sense. And, I know we pulled the metrics, academic metrics report today, because we want to give it the attention that it deserves. Though the academic results are what drive these decisions, right? And continue to drive them. And so we'll give that the attention that it deserves before we finalize LCAP, the next one, is my understanding. So, but thank you I know you just do tremendous amounts of very quality work on this, so thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Wanted to echo the thank you and encourage people to go back and watch the meetings if you weren't able to attend. They're hugely informative, and Dr. Anders does a great job of making them accessible. For Goal 2 action items, I wanted to ask 2 quick clarifying questions, more for the benefit of all. The FSA counseling program, the 131,500, that's for the care center, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then my second clarifying question is the school climate and mental health surveys where we're paying Hanover, those are legally required surveys. I just want to draw a distinction between the additional Hanover study we did this year versus this is what's required of us. It's not something that we can eliminate. Is that correct? Okay, those
Yeah,
were
and
my
in
two
fact,
questions.
there's the only other survey that we can do is also a paid for
Right.
survey. So we get more benefit with them if they do other research projects for us throughout the year than just the survey. And you've actually pointed out 2 of the 3 items that are not personnel in this plan.
I have a question. So in lieu of all these, currently what's happening with traveling and the president banning everything, are you speculating any kind of a drop, especially in the ELD areas, because certain people cannot travel right now or are getting deported, unfortunately? And I can tell you, in my community, there's big concerns right now, and some people who are.
That's a hard one to anticipate.
And do we have, do we have a room for, in terms of your anticipation and also error, what are you looking at, like percentage-wise, probability-wise?
Sure. So funding-wise, these are state funds. So as far as our actual supplemental budget is concerned, we don't have to be concerned about changes within the federal funding for this specific budget. So that's nice assurance that we don't have to be concerned that the U.S. Education Agency is going to change that. But as far as trends within our local English learner population, it has been increasing over the last couple of years. I would anticipate to some degree that it's going to stabilize a little bit. That's a good thing for us in the sense that accountability-wise, when we're looking at how we're servicing those students and how they're performing, it allows us to continue to work with the students we have instead of the new students that we just received being part or counted into that population, which is always a challenge because how can you say you're making progress when for every kid that you've reclassified as non-English learner, you're getting 1 or 2, twice as the many coming in that have high needs and high English learner demands.
Are you expecting any dramatic changes coming from the state on the LCAP in terms of?
Not for this funding, but there could be, staying tuned when it comes to federal funding through the different titles, Title I, Title II, Title III.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anders. Oh, you can clap. Let's hear it. All right, next item is 13, new and unfinished business. 13A, adoption of Resolution 5551 regarding the Education Protection Account, EPA 2526. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 13B, approval of 100% childcare fee reduction for unduplicated student paid by Expanded Learning Opportunities Program for Roundabout and Boys and Girls Club of Burbank from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Can I get a motion? Or do you have any questions? Do we have a presentation on this?
There really isn't a presentation, but I do want to invite to the podium Shanna Warren from the Boys and Girls Club. This item is about the Boys and Girls Club contract. It does talk about around the bell that was an error and it was a deletion that did not occur. So this is only about the Boys and Girls Club contract. Okay. And this contract is for services for childcare provided by the Boys and Girls Club for the 180 days of the regular school year. There are days during winter break, there are days during spring break, and then the 20 days of summer program too. So it's from after school all the way until 6 o'clock. And so Shanna, if you'd like to
Shanna
come to the
Warren.
podium and talk about your program a little bit.
Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I wasn't prepared to make a formal presentation. I'm just here to show my support of our long-standing partnership. This is a wonderful program. It benefits so many children. Obviously, school districts around California are partnering with nonprofits, a lot of boys and girls clubs. We do this with LAUSD as well. It's just a wonderful program. We're happy to be able to work with you on this. Grateful for all of the schools and the principals that we partner with, all of the families. And as Peter mentioned, we're doing it throughout the school year, summer. We're doing it right now. We just started again, and we're just really grateful for this program and for the opportunity to partner with you.
Dr. Weisberg.
I just want to thank you personally for at least the 3 or 4 times I can think of this year where I've been like, Peter, we need childcare for our teachers when we go back to school, or the fires. And you always step up. And I know it's not easy, but you are it's not just reliable. It's just such we just trust you so much. And you're always willing to go the extra mile for our kids. And it's just such a truly beneficial partnership, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, because I know sometimes those asks have been pretty last minute. And I'm just supremely grateful. And people oftentimes give us a little, the board, they ask us why we're not able to attend events and galas and things like that. And I want you to know, even if we are not present at those, it's not about our lack of appreciation, support, respect for you or the program and the services you provide. That is a consistent, and I think we can look for ways to celebrate that even more. So I just wanted to say a personal thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I can assure you that Armand is at all of my events. So thank you.
I know.
Thank you.
Well, you use the word supremely. I also want to thank you and your team. I see you in a lot of events, but also, I'm a believer of what the Boys and Girls Club do. I see the impact not only in our neighborhoods, but in other neighborhoods. But I also, want to thank you personally for all you do. I know you also support other nonprofits in our communities. I see you at different events. And I believe you have a big event coming up, right? Back to school?
Yes, the Back to School fairs. So
When is that?
In my spare time, I oversee the nonprofit coalition for Burbank. There's about 57 of us, and we have an amazing Back to School fair every summer. It's going to be on Saturday, August 2nd. Over 700 students, free haircuts, dental vision screenings, backpacks full of school supplies. But the best part about it is there's over 60 vendors, and it's a great opportunity for parents to find out about free and low-cost services that they might not otherwise know about. And the school district, the PTA support the event, so we're very grateful for that as well.
Is there a way, I was able to go, I think you were there, it's phenomenal. Is there a way, and maybe we did this last year, to just send an email out to all of our parents, letting them know about it?
Yeah, it already happened.
Yes, we asked for it to go out before the end of the school
Yay!
year.
Yeah.
Huzzah!
Thanks to Peter.
I just want to tell you, I'm the grandmother of one very satisfied customer.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for all your support and partnership. I think I've mentioned up here multiple times that we certainly have a greater need for childcare than I think we can ever, that we can meet at this point, right? Especially in younger grades.
Yes.
Especially the TKs and the kinders.
Lots of phone calls on that.
I am sure, and the before school stuff too. So I know you know that. I just want you to know, I support Boys and Girls Club serving as many students as you possibly can, because I know that my kids are doing amazing stuff when they are between the between the bells of the school day. I don't think anything would happen at my house if they were not there for several hours after as well. And certainly would not happen in my professional life. And so just, we've got a lot of working parents in this community who rely on you, and so thank you for that. But keep growing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. 13C was pulled. 13D. Was that pulled? No. No, that wasn't. Okay, there's pulled. There's too many pulled reds here. Approval of the 2025-25 negotiated amendment to the agreement between the Burbank Unified School District and the Burbank Teachers Association. Any questions regarding this? Dr. Dorchenko, want to tell us quickly what this is?
Yes, these are we met and negotiated with BTA throughout the year, and so these were the articles that we came to agreement on. And in the board cover member, you can see we worked quite a bit. So we have, I think the highlights would be, we cleaned up a lot of language just to clarify things and people, and we have some hours of employment and how we're implementing certain things to make it cleaner in the contract. For safety is the biggest one that we added. We added an intervention assistance protocol that we'll be using next year when we have some sort of severe dysregulated students, a way to make sure that everyone in the classroom is safe and employees are safe. I think that's the biggest highlight of our, and if Andy would like to add.
Thank you,
Cantwell.
Dr. Dorchenko. Anything else?
Yeah.
Mr. Cantwell.
As the district lead negotiator for BTA, I just want to express my gratitude to the BTA negotiation team as well as district. We have really developed, I believe, an effective, collaborative, meaningful way to bring about positive change for this district. These meetings are always oriented toward what's right for students, what's right for our teachers and their working conditions so they can do what is right for students. And so I am grateful that this is the first time in a long time that we actually are entering into a successor 3-year agreement before the current one is expired. We are not unusual. Many districts do that, where they are still having active negotiations even after a term expires, and they go for a period where they're actually beyond that term. And that was our norm for a number of years. And so, because of the collaborative relationship, the priority on improving the quality of the school district for our workforce, we were able to come to an agreement before the actual current contract expires, and so we'll be able to continue on with another 3-year term.
Thank you. Yes.
And just to say that when I have reported out on this timeline at something like 5-Star, where we meet with other districts, they are extremely jealous that our team has been able to achieve this. It is very standard to be at least a year in arrears on your contract. So that's just a testament to the work and the relationships you all have built. So thank you for the hard work, and to our BTA partners.
Thank you, everyone, for the kind words. Now, can I get a motion and a second, please?
Second.
A motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. 13E, ratification of award of contract, NG Service US Inc. removal and reinstallation of rooftop solar panels, John Muir Middle School. Mr. Cantwell, anything you want to?
This is the cost to actually remove the solar at Muir for the roof project this summer. So
Got it.
our staff are not trained or certified to be able to remove and ensure maintenance of warranties and maintenance of the operating system. So we have to actually use a specialized service to remove those units to allow us to do the work and then be able to reinstall them. And it is costly to do that.
Wait, so I have a
Wait,
quick
where do we
question.
keep-
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, where do we keep them? I mean, when they pull them off,
You
where
gotta
do
put
they
'em
put
back,
them? No, I know.
I do
do
not
we
know
have-
the
we
answer
don't
to
have to
that,
pay-
but I'm going to guess that Mr. Maxwell is watching this, and I'll probably get a text in about 2 minutes.
2 seconds. He runs
If
through the door.
I-
like, they're right here.
I will
I know that.
provide
Where are
I will
they
provide a
storing
response to the board tomorrow to answer that
Okay.
question. I don't know where they're being stored.
Yeah, just because I'm curious, I mean, do we store them, and if we, do we have to have a special place to store them? And you know, for
Probably
the-
why we pay
Okay,
those
that's what I'm
fancy
saying. They
Solar
keep them-
panels?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we better get them fast now with all this tariff stuff, you know.
These are existing solar panels.
I know, that was a joke.
Okay.
All right, can I get a motion and a second, please, on this?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. 13F, acceptance of notice of completion, E-Rate Technology Network Electronics, NTT America Solutions. Mr. Cantwell?
I just want to thank Rick Vonk and the entire technology team for the work that they've done, particularly over the past few years on a number of improvements to our IT infrastructure, leveraging E-rate funding to be able to maximize our local dollars. This is simply an acceptance of notice of completion.
That's great.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. 13G, acceptance of notice of completion data center refresh AMS.net bond funds. Mr. Cantwell?
Once again, this is just a notice of completion for a project that was previously approved. It has been done as part of our overall data center refresh with AMS.
Thank you. Now we're going to 14. I will
we have
ask.
to
To
vote.
approve that one.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Can I get a motion and a
So
second?
moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we're going to 14. I will ask Vice President Kamkar to make the.
Yeah. Can I have,
We can make a motion with all those.
yeah, I'm just making sure that I get it right. Because we changed it. And so I think I've got it, though.
Would you like
Can you-
me to
can you-
recommend
Can
the
you recommend
language?
a motion for me? Thank you.
My recommendation would be to make a motion to approve items 14A through F. I'm sorry, G,
Through G, right?
G.
Okay.
J, K. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to mess this up myself. No J, we go to K. L, N through S, U, W,
U,
and Y.
W, Y. All right, let's see if I got it right. I moved that we approve consent items 14A through G, K, L, N through S, U, W, and Y. Anybody want to second
And,
that?
and actually, let me
Oh.
just make sure, because I do believe that we have one or two amended.
Oh, yes, sorry, and items 14D as amended. So do I need,
Yeah.
let me do that again then. 14A through C, E through G, K, L, N through S, U, W, Y as presented, and 14D is amended. And 14V. Yes, thank you. No, because, oh, no, that's right, okay. That's my motion.
Aye. Happy Pride to everybody celebrating, to all of the community and the allies and co-conspirators. That's all I got.
I just want to say, the last time we were here was before graduation. Graduations were delightful. And promotions, and culminations and all of it. I know staff and my fellow board members attended as many as they could get to. So we hope that, I certainly hope that being there let you know that I support you and celebrate you. But it was really fun, and I'm really proud of our graduates and promoting students, and look forward to seeing all the amazing things that they do.
Anyone else? Ms. Connor?
Yes, the graduations are really wonderful. Like I said, it's nothing like sitting and looking at some teenager's
Yeah.
eyes and they're just so excited. And it's just such a, I don't know the word, rejuvenating, I guess, when you're in the classroom, you don't see the end of the journey. I just also wanted to wish all the kids right now who are in summer school that we just started this week,
All right.
that you have a great time.
Thank you. Thank you. Short and sweet. All right, now we are at the retirement section. We have Stephen Hollis, was a teacher. Stephen, sorry. Hollis, did I say that right?
I think so.
Okay, we're a bunch of teachers correcting me all the time, so I want to make sure we pronounce it properly, because I always correct people when they pronounce my last name wrong. Thank you. Doesn't say what school, though.
We usually just say the year.
Oh, okay. Well, used to, but started at 7/14/2008. Wow. So enjoy your retirement. We also have Laura Messian, teacher, started services at 9/12/1991. Wow. Wow. And Timothy Well, teacher, started services in 2/16/2012. We have some more retirements. Victoria Diaz, at the serving kitchen operator, started at 6/10/25 at Disney. Pedro Gutierrez, lead custodian, started in 2025 at Emerson Elementary School. Oh, sorry, started at 1/29, sorry. That was a quick retirement. I just said 5/30/25. Started at 1/29/20. And Ms. Diaz started at 9/11/89, 1989. We also have Suzanne Lane Larmote, in paraeducator, special education, started in 1996, 4/22/96 at Burroughs High School. We also have Jose J. Rodriguez, custodian, Burbank High School, began his services at 4/19/2007. Gina Segura, budget and accounting technician, started fiscal services, began the services at 8/26/2015. And Maritza Silva, pre-educated special education, Muir Middle School, started at 2/22/2002. We're going to miss you. Thank you for your hard work, and please enjoy your retirement. With that, we'll be adjourning our meeting at 8:39.